People think Bigfoot roars, that it charges, that it wants to be seen. But people who spend real time in the forest will tell you something else. They don't remember noise. They remember footsteps that never pass you, always just behind. And the feeling that whatever's walking with you knows the path better than you do. This happened on a logging road that no longer appears on maps. That road used to matter. Decades ago it was busy. Logging trucks, crews, machinery moving in and out from sunrise to dark. Then the timber ran out. And when the reason to be there disappeared, the road stopped being remembered. Nature reclaimed it slowly. First, the signs went missing. Then the shoulders collapsed. Then trees leaned just enough to narrow the way. The road never vanished. It just stopped inviting people in. The three people walking it that evening weren't tourists. They weren't chasing stories. They were locals who had grown up around the forest. The kind of people who know when a trail looks wrong and when it's simply quiet. They'd walked that road before. Plenty of times. That's why the silence stood out. At first, it felt normal. Dusk always thins sound. Birds settle, wind slows. But this wasn't that. This was like the forest was listening. Their footsteps were suddenly the loudest thing around. Gravel under boots, slow, even. And then another sound joined them. Not a snap, not a rustle. Footsteps behind them, far enough away to feel accidental, close enough to feel intentional. No one said anything at first. That's how these moments always begin. You don't want to be the first one to admit you heard it too. They kept walking, talking softly, laughing once. The footsteps didn't react to their voices. They matched their pace. One of them slowed down slightly. The sound slowed with him. Another stopped walking altogether. The other two took a step before they realized. When they turned around, he was standing still. So were the footsteps. That was the first moment fear entered the walk. Not panic, recognition. They laughed it off. Because that's what people do when something doesn't make sense yet. Someone joked it was an echo. Someone said maybe another group was behind them. No one believed it. They started walking again. The footsteps returned immediately. This time they were closer, not louder. Closer. Each step carried weight. The ground answered them differently than it answered human feet. There was no drag. No stumble, just deliberate placement. As if whatever was behind them had walked that road before. As if it remembered where to step. They stopped talking. Sound felt wrong now, like it traveled too far. They passed an old pull-off where trucks used to park. The trees were pressed tight there, branches knitted together overhead. One of them said later that this was where the forest felt occupied. Not threatening, aware. They noticed something else then. Their pace hadn't changed, but the rhythm of the footsteps behind them had improved. At first, it had been slightly off, half a beat late. Now it was perfect. Matching stride, matching timing, staying just far enough back to never be seen. They reached a bend in the road, the kind that blocks sight completely for a moment. Instinct told them not to look back. One of them did anyway. There was nothing there. No movement, no shape. But the ground told a different story. The footprints weren't human. Too wide, too deep. The spacing wrong, not running, not chasing, walking. And when the road curved out of sight, the footprints stopped, as if whatever made them didn't need to follow any farther. They turned back, all three of them. Together. They didn't run. Running felt like an invitation. They walked until the trees loosened and sound returned. Birds again. Wind again. Only then did they stop. They never finished that walk. They never went back to that road. Years later, when asked what they think it was, they hesitate. They don't say Bigfoot. They don't say monster. They say the forest felt shared, like they had entered something's routine without realizing it. And whatever walked behind them that night wasn't lost, wasn't curious, wasn't aggressive. It was patient. People ask why there aren't clearer stories, why there aren't photos, why there's no proof. But proof only exists when something wants to be seen. And if something wanted to scare you, you wouldn't still be wondering what it was. Some things don't need to chase. They just need to walk with you long enough for you to feel how small you are. Some stories should stay buried. Comment what tales you'd like to hear next.
Like and subscribe for more.